You know, there's a lot of misconceptions that this town of Ashland is a safe space for all people, that it's quote unquote very progressive. And I pretty much call BS on that.
I don't want you to keep failing. That's why I'm bringing you to this commission.
And sound. This is Love by as the record play. Love by.
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and welcome to Us As We Are. In this episode, we're going to be talking to people at this rally in support of Ashland's proposed Racial and Social Equity Commission. Come on, let's go see who we can talk to. All right, why don't you introduce yourself and explain why you're out here today?
Thank you. My name is Gina DuQuenne, and I'm Ashland City Councilor, and I'm here in support of the Racial and Social Equity Commission that Mayor Akins put forward in January. And April 20th, we will be having our first reading for the commission. I'm very excited.
Could you explain what is the Racial and Social Equity Commission?
The Racial and Social Equity Commission was put in place, was suggested by Mayor Akins. And what it is going to be the makeup of BIPOC community and white brothers and sisters also, so that we can all come to the table and have a discussion and find common grounds. It'll also be a place where, as me as a black person, if I am feeling marginalized or discriminated against, I can go to this commission and I can reflect how this made me feel. And somewhere for marginalized people to go and talk and express. If you're a transgendered person and you're looking for health care, maybe we can direct you to La Clinica and give you some resources and help you to help yourself. This commission is long overdue, and I'm grateful that we'll have our first reading. Everybody's out here today in support of it, so it's a big, big thing.
So I'm Julie Akins, and I'm the mayor of Ashland, and I'm here today to make sure that we have adequate support for the Racial and Social Equity Commission, which comes before council on Tuesday. And can I tell you why that matters?
Oh, absolutely. First, can I ask just for you to offer some context about what the Racial and Social Equity Commission is and what it does?
Yeah, thank you. So the Racial and Social Equity Commission actually takes people in our community with lived experience of being black, indigenous, people of color, of being differently abled, of being houseless. It takes those folks and it gives them a place at the table to describe their lived experience and helps us know the truth, so that we can affect change in the right way, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense that in a town as affluent as Ashland, there are people suffering in this way. It doesn't make sense that young Aiden died here on the streets. It should not have happened. We have to make sure that we are looking at all our systems, policing, housing, business opportunities, hiring opportunities, education. We have to be able to have a place where people can weigh in on these things and where we as a council and a community can hear what they have to say. It really begins there. Right now in Chicago, the mayor of Chicago is working really hard to get a commission like this so that they can talk about policing in their community. If they can't yet get it done in Chicago, I'm here to say we can get it done in Ashland. It's easier, it's a smaller town, but you know what, we can seed this movement, and I hope that all cities throughout Oregon and frankly the world have commissions like this where people can hear what's important and affect change. We should all just be okay. Right? It
Totally.
should be okay to go down the street and not worry about getting shot. It should be okay to not worry about getting stopped for something that you're not doing wrong. It should be okay if you don't have a lot of money in your pocket to still have a place to live. It should be okay, and it's not. So we have to fight to where it is okay for everybody.
This is Mmmingpha here. I'm Unsui, and I'm at the Unitarian Church. I have a sangha called Amivi Sangha there. It's a indigenous-based Dharma tradition sangha. We usually do a lot of civil rights activism work, though.
Right on. And what brings you to the plaza today?
Before I leave, I want to make sure that the Racial Equity Coalition, the new one, is solidified. I also want to make sure people are aware of the danger of the wildfires, as well as the danger of the wildfires and the white supremacist attacks being a possibility at the same time. So as I'm on my way out, I'm gonna help as many people as I can to do what I need to do, you know. And I also wanted to let people know the Pan-African Art Gallery that I was working on is official, and that's gonna be my going away present to the town. It's gonna be from Mother's Day till Juneteenth.
All right, so Tripp and I did a project involving you once before, but I don't think we've ever talked to you on this show. So why don't you introduce yourselves for us and explain what brings you out here today?
My name is Kokayi Nosakhere. It was given to me when I was 21 years old. It means summon the people, O messenger, because God's way is the only way. I am a graduate of the Million Man March, which means that I attended on October 16, 1995. Since then, I have done everything within my power as a community organizer in order to implement solutions. So if anyone wants to know more details about me, they really just need to Google my name. And everything from local articles to articles I've written to international articles like the USA Today for the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March can be found.
Why don't you please introduce yourself and explain what brings you out here today?
Hi, my name's Lotus Gabriel, and what brings me out here today is my care and at the same time concern for all of BIPOC, people of color, especially living here in such a rural, small town, Southern Oregon. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions that this town of Ashland is a safe space for all people, that it's quote unquote very progressive. And I pretty much call BS on that. It's not. I, as a mother of color and having a family of color, I've definitely experienced a lot of racism here myself. I have a toddler, and even going to take him to play dates or just taking him to the playground and to parks, we have definitely had really horrible experiences with racism from other very small children. So I really want to just speak up and pronounce these issues of hate and violence and harm and division in this community right here, right now. It's been happening for so long, and it's in no way okay. It is completely unacceptable. And, it's really up to, I think, the adults, because in my personal experience, experiencing racism on the playground when I'm trying to take my 2-year-old child to go play and seeing other small children other him and taunt him, where are they learning this racism from? So adults, it's your responsibility. And there's microaggressions, there's covert racism. It doesn't matter on the scale of how big or how small. None of it is freaking acceptable. It should be a place where people of all colors, all races are welcome and safe, and that we don't have to live in fear and terror. I had to go to Target the other day to run an errand in Medford, and I was afraid to get out of my car. The amount of hate crimes against the AAPI community has risen 150% since the pandemic, and I just want to show my support and, how can we create real changes. And I think step one is just facing the facts and acknowledging that this is a huge issue, and it's all across the spectrum for Asian people, for Pacific Islanders, Indigenous people, Black folks, brown folks, And yes, I'm also a community organizer, and I just want to get together with other people who also are ready to take a step up and show up and to stop brushing this issue aside. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, why don't you please introduce yourself and explain why you're out here today?
Hi, I'm Xuba Evaristo. I'm out here today showing support and solidarity for the Racial and Social Equity Commission as proposed by Mayor Atkins for the city of Ashland.
And you put this event together, or at least on Facebook, correct?
I fronted the Facebook event, not really knowing who, what, when, or where, and put the cart before the horse, as it were, and got here a little late. And there was already people here. So yes, wonderful to see all the community support.
My name is Amit Choudhary. I have been the resident of Ashland last 2 to 3 years. And since then we have been active in community events which support racial equity. And that's how I meet Ming, and we have organized this thing today. So that's why I'm here to support the initiative of equality of all the races in the whole, not even on the just a general public level, but also in the city council. So
I'm Benji Ben-Baruch, and I came out because there was a call for people to come out to the plaza to support the end to racial injustice, racial inequality, the end to the police killings, and something that's a no-brainer.
Could you explain, in your understanding, what the Racial Equity Commission is all about?
So originally, I heard it was a falling out that happened a couple years ago, and it was a lot of weak-minded people catering to the status quo of the whiteness in the town. But the original construction was supposed to change the situation for non-European people in Ashland so that they could actually be able to develop community economically, spiritually, and culturally. So the new one, which I was on the panel for in February, got started, but if I'm not mistaken, there's probably some racist people on the city council that are trying to stop it. So that's why we're out here doing the rally and putting posters up and getting responses from the local community.
What brings you out here to the plaza today? Like what this protest is all about, or rally as it's been called?
So, community organizing, number one, there are 4 different things that occur on the American landscape. There are things called a rally, a parade, a demonstration, and a protest. Protests have a specific aim. Like the sit-in movement, that was a protest. What gets called nowadays among these millennials and Gen Zers, a protest is not, according to Sololinsky, a protest. A demonstration is what Dr. King did with the boycotts. That's a demonstration. We are here to demonstrate our commitment to justice. A rally is something that is warm current, nice messaging, enrollment. You have art. You got people who do street theater. You get people who sing songs. A rally is all feel good. A parade is what I saw going on in Portland that was being masqueraded as a protest, where people were just walking by. And you didn't know what they were walking by for or when they were going to come back. Parades are very nice and they build community, but that's not what I believe is happening right here. What I believe is happening right here is a rally, and the reason why I decided to come out to the rally is because a friend of mine, when they switched over from being mayor-elect to being Mayor Julie Akins, their very first act in office was to put forth a proposal of a commission that they wrote themselves called the Racial and Social Equity Commission. Most people, after 4 years of Mr. Trump, view national politics and local politics to be the exact same thing, which they are not. So they believe that once the mayor has put forth a commission and something that they wrote with their own hand, that it just automatically comes into municipal law, when that is not how the city charter works, not how local politics works, and not how the city council, which is all volunteer, works. So for the past 4 months, my friend Mayor Julie Akins with Councilwoman Gina DuQuenne have been advocating with the other members of the city council here in Ashland to do the right thing, to borrow Spike Lee. I'm showing my age. I'm sorry, I had to laugh on that a little bit, okay? So the goal would be, through this rally, to put forth a warm current so that those who are paying attention while they drive by can have something to conversate about with their friends and family. An event to talk about and to examine a little bit their relationship to race, racism, and whiteness, so that they have some kind of acceptance that the Racial and Social Equity Commission is not here to enact revenge, but to bring about the solution that Dr. King talked about in the letter to Birmingham jail. Peace is not the absence of tension, which is almost like a hippie standard in this environment, that as long as there's no emotional tension between you and I, when we communicate with each other, then there is this thing called peace, because it is observable. You can measure it. But Dr. King, being a minister that wants you to elevate a little bit higher out of your animal nature into greater humanity, is going to say, full sentence, peace is not the absence of tension, semicolon, it, pronoun making reference back to the subject, peace, is the presence of justice. Now, if in your subconscious as a white person, justice means revenge, then that's where you need to start in order to go on your healing journey. Peace.
Functionally, if somebody has an issue that would be relevant to the commission, how would that look? Like, if they came to the commission with that issue, how would they see it potentially resolved?
What would happen is something like just bringing forth the idea of a transgendered individual to come and find community, hopefully, to find that health care that they're looking for, to be able to connect. Because so many times people are unable to find community and where they belong, and not feel like other anymore. And so I believe that's one very big part of the effects that the commission can help our citizens here in Ashland. And we'll see how it evolves and ebb and flows, but just to have that base place where marginalized people can go and be heard is so important.
And why is the Racial and Social Equity Commission important?
It's a good opportunity for sort of a systemic, if you will, institutional glance for the community to reflect on, certain issues as they affect the racial and social equity generally. It's a broad category and a broad possibility of topics that the commission could tackle. But I think it's important to, as the sign says here, celebrate diversity. Yeah.
Cool. So what have you been up to in the meantime since then?
We are trying to bring our efforts from a grassroots level to an organized city council level. I think that this is about. It would be really helpful for even the city administration if the people from all the races are there and they can exactly express what their community is feeling, and this is most importantly about the things that since have been happening. The recent Minnesota case that happened. We are just trying to expose as many of those events as possible by doing these community things. So that's what today is about, to expose whatever is happening and try to join the people who are interested or are like-minded. So that's why we're here.
This is the least I can do to support those causes. It's not enough, but it's something that hopefully will increase public awareness of the problem, mobilize people to do something about it, not just come out and rally, but to put political pressure on the various politicians, and to build a movement for real change in this country, starting with Ashland, but this is something that is a nationwide problem, if not a worldwide problem. And that's one of the reasons why we're also going to be holding a May Day rally in a couple of weeks, the Day of International Solidarity with Workers and Progressive Causes. And it's just part of the continuing fight for justice, equality, end of poverty, end of militarism, end of all of the causes of these problems. And coming out for rallies is minimal kind of thing we can do, but it's something that gives these issues publicity and hopefully awakens people's consciousness and consciences.
So then, could you explain maybe like in practice, like what would this commission look like? Like how would it operate, and how could somebody come to the commission with an issue and see it resolved potentially?
I think that's a great question. So the commission, we have many commissions in the city of Ashland. This commission looks similar to those, in that a group of people that I'll put forward to the council for approval, a group of people will come together once a month and they'll meet and they'll discuss issues, and there'll be a way that people can contact them, and then they'll bring those issues to council for us to address. It's really quite simple. It's just the community participating and telling us about their experiences in a meaningful and official way, as opposed to not having a commission and people not really knowing where to go and how to talk about these things. This gives us a place, a legitimate place to talk about it.
Right on. And so you brought this in front of council right at the beginning of your mayoralship, right?
Yes, on January 5th.
And so I've heard a lot of people say that this commission is taking a lot longer to put together and actually get operational than other commissions in the past. Can you speak to that at all?
I think there was initially some potential resistance to it. I'm not really sure where it came from. There was just a lot of conversation about, well, is this going to be inclusive for everybody? Will white voices be considered on this commission? Will they have extra authority as opposed to other commissions? But I didn't write it for anybody to have extra authority. I just wrote it to be a commission as any commission would be. And I guess I sort of quipped, like, really? Because there's not enough places for white people to be heard in Ashland? Like, let's be honest about that. Like, there's lots of places. This is a place for people who don't normally get a seat at the table to have a seat. And anytime you make a change like that, I think there's going to be some initial concern. But my hope is that council will approve this unanimously on Tuesday night, and when it comes up again, they'll approve it unanimously again. It's, I think, clear from the turnout here and from the letters we've received, this community wants this, and we're here to serve this community.
Yeah, this commission has been taking a lot longer to put together than other commissions in the past of a similar nature. Could you maybe speak to like why you think that's going on? You mentioned potentially racist council members, but go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, basically, the town was occupied by KKK for so long that it's become a situation where two things can happen. Either the town is actually going to change like it says it has for the past, I guess, 50 or 40 years. It's been working on this so-called multi-ethnic change, but it's definitely clung to whiteness in reference to the KKK past that it definitely has had. So it can do that and then use non-European people as a way to attract business, and that's it. Simply like people are here as pawns to attract business, and there's nothing else. There's no community building. There's no social culture. There's nothing. Just having tokens here to attract money, or they can actually have a real culture, a real social scene, and a real multi-ethnic situation. But in the light of the hate crimes that have been happening, it's going to take a lot of work. So the Racial Equity Coalition needs to happen immediately.
What is the Racial and Social Equity Commission? Like, what does it do, in your understanding?
in my current understanding of it, because you have the limitations of municipal code here in Ashland. So everybody's rights has to be, everyone's rights have to be recognized, and the Constitution of the state of Oregon cannot be violated. So as far as I understand, a commission is a place for the community to come and build community. If there is someone who is in question as to whether they meet the standard that the city has set for itself of how it's going to conduct itself when it comes down to race, racism, or whiteness, then there is a forum for growth. So a commission is a place where the community and the business or organization, because it can't be an individual, it has to be a business or an organization that is in violation with the standard of how we choose to interact with each other. Here's a place for you to come and ask questions and say, what do you need from me in order to grow toward our standard? Because I want you to meet our standard because we're in common unity. I don't want you to keep failing. That's why I'm bringing you to this commission.
You mentioned something happening on the playground with your kids. Do you want to talk about that story anymore? Maybe go into more detail if you're willing?
Yeah, I mean, the first instance, there was another child there, and she came up to my son and I, and she was like, "Do you speak Chinese?" You know, and that is a very racist comment and question. The second time, it was a group of little children. Again, I was with my little boy, and they started taunting and singing and saying, "Chinese baby, Chinese baby, Chinese baby." Like, there was a group of like 4 or 5 children, and I told them to stop and that was not okay. So it's this othering, you know, when you see someone that looks different from you, and making a spectacle of it and making them feel like they don't belong and that they're not welcome. And also, I mean, as Asians, we are not a monolith. My child and I, we are not Chinese. But, you know, people who are not Asian don't even stop to, you know, discern that there's a difference, right? And, you know, so there's xenophobia, you know, even like, yeah, it's just, why are we using that word as something bad anyways, you know? And, you know, I've had a situation where I was out dining, trying to have a dinner. This was pre-pandemic, actually. And, you know, this white woman from tables away shouts out to us, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" And when we, my spouse and I answered her and said, you know, we're from California originally, and she did not accept that answer. And she said, you know, next time make up something more interesting. You know, it's like, we people of color do not exist for you white people. You know, there's so much entitlement, so much privilege, and also to mention cultural appropriation, you know, so that's, yeah, it's been just a little bit of my experience here.
So Julie brought this before the city council right at the beginning of her time as mayor and your time in city council, but it still hasn't been fully approved, whereas it seems like other commissions in the past have more quickly been approved. Could you speak to that or why that might be the case?
Well, I was just speaking to a wonderful young woman named Hazel, and Hazel saw us on city council, and she said, "Gina, that was so good what you said." And I'm like, well, I don't remember what I said, but my first knee-jerk reaction to the pushback, I was shocked that we were getting pushback from other councilors and questioned about, well, is this going to supersede the council? No, none of the other commissions supersede the council, so why would this? This one is in place for the people, and it's about the people, our constituents. It's not about the people who are in local government. It's about the people who got us there. So let's give the people a voice. So for me, I was surprised with the amount of pushback and wanting to take it apart, but we've held strong and steadfast, and we're moving forward. And I look forward to it materializing probably in June, late May, early June. That would be awesome.
Now, to sort of turn the tide a little bit, I just want to talk about like you and your experience being mayor so far. How are things going being mayor? That must be an interesting life experience, and you're several months into it. Could you give us like a bit of a look into what that's like?
It is an interesting experience and really rewarding. I find that the people of Ashland are terrific. And it's also funny. Sometimes I have to chuckle to myself because I'll get calls at 8 in the morning or 8 o'clock at night about something, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'll do what I can about it. But, I think because I'm super accessible, sometimes it's like, wow, okay, all right, hey, Mayor Julie, there's smoke. Where's it coming from? So it's a real challenge to stay really informed so that I can give information and be helpful. But I like it. I wanted to do it, and I appreciate the people here very much, and I hope that in 4 years we can affect positive change and do our best for this town. We have our challenges, of course, like any town, and sometimes more than others in terms of the pandemic and tourism, some of the things we've struggled with. So we got a long road to hoe, but I think we're going to get there as a community, and I'm enjoying being part of it.
On the evening of April 20th, the Ashland City Council met virtually via Zoom and voted to approve the Racial and Social Equity Commission.
All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Us As We Are. As always, it's been extremely fascinating conversations, this time with several key players in Ashland's political scene. Before I go, I do, of course, want to mention that we have a Patreon page. So if you want to support what we're doing, we would really appreciate it. Supporters of our Patreon get access to our exclusive Us As We Cast recap podcast, where the crew of the show and I discuss the events that we document here, but from our perspective. Additionally, Patreon members will get access to a lot of bonus material and other random stuff we'll upload from time to time. Additionally, we're also now once again airing short segments of some of these interviews on Southern Oregon PBS. So if you want to know more about that, once again, information will be in the description down below. With that, I've been Keegan Van Hook. This is Us As We Are, and we'll see you in the next one.
As always, a special thanks to our Patreon major supporters, Adam, Alex Zendejas, Amy E. Van Hook, Bethany McKenzie, Daniel Van Hook, and Robin Jossie.
This is a new dimension in sound. This is